Finished taping the inside of the drum now. And so now I'm going to put a mark right in the center of where this wrap needs to go. So this is the bottom of the drum here. This is the very top. You can see the tom holder here, the vent hole. And what I want to do is try to make a mark pretty close to center. And I need that in order to center my wrap. I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. So what I'm going to do is take this wrap that I just sanded down. Again, checking to make sure the correct side is facing me. And I'm going to put it on the drum. And I'm going to clamp it in place. And so what I'm going to try to do here is apply some tape over here to my center so I know exactly where the center is. So when I've glued these pieces and I bring them together, you bring them together here first and then you start to wrap it around. I need to have the center exact so that all the seams will line up. So right now I have this seam lined up very well. I want to make sure that this touches down on the bottom. And this seam, as you can see, lines up pretty close to perfect. Nothing's perfect, so it'll never be perfect. So I'm going to take my blue painter's tape and I'm going to take two small pieces of it. And the first piece I'm going to put to the right of that mark that I had made, like that. And the second piece I'm going to put to the left, leaving a tiny gap in the middle, which should tell me exactly where to line it up with my mark. Now, this may be off slightly. Oh, it's close. That's close enough. So the main function here is that the reason I'm doing this is because you bring this wrap and it's been glued and the shell's been glued, and as soon as it touches, it's sticking. It's not coming back off. Believe me, it's not coming back off. So you put it on here and you start to work with it with a J roller to bring it around till these seams match. So if you've prepped it right like this, then you're in good shape. So I'm all ready to start gluing and got all this covered up in here. Everything's fine. So I'll take this bass drum off and again set it on the floor for right now. I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to go get my materials to start gluing with, and I'll show you how to do that here next. It's time to start the gluing operation. This is 3M Fast Bond. You can either get it from Granger or you can buy it from Precision Drum Company. It's kind of expensive, but it's it's a water-based contact adhesive that's neutral, and it's made for this type of application. It's probably actually made for countertops, but this is what you want to get. You don't want to use anything else. So before you actually start gluing the wood, you may want to run some tack cloth over it. Here's some Made in USA tack cloth. I bought it Ace Hardware. So I'm going to open this up. And tack cloth is waxy. So you want to make sure that you don't push down on it very hard while you're running it over the surface. So I just kind of go over the surface very lightly to pick up any dust that may be on there. I'd pre-prepared this surface, so there should be nothing on it, but just in case, I'll go over it lightly again. Okay, so that should be dust-free, free of any things that might cause blemishes. Walmart mustard potato salad, you can use this container as a glue container because you can throw it away when you're done. Just make sure it's been cleaned out real well. This is the glue. And I'm going to put some in the container. and recap it. You want to make sure you don't spill it on anything. I prefer to use a brush like this. This is a poly brush. It's also made in USA. I got it at Ace Hardware. You can use a roller. I've done that as well, but rollers seem to drip off the ends. So I prefer sort of to use this. I just get a little bit of glue on the end here. Kind of start like this. And once you've committed to doing this, you have like 4 hours to finish. So you don't want to put it together before about 45 minutes, but you have to put it together within about 4 hours. So, and I've found you don't really need anything more than that on the end. That's plenty. We're going to put 2 coats on the regular part. So I try to put this on kind of thickly. See, I like the brush because it tends to cover the edges pretty well without a lot of drips. You can see the wood absorbs this glue right away. But again, as I said earlier, I don't think you need a whole lot of glue to make this project work properly. I think people probably tend to put too much on. We are going to put 2 coats on, so I think that'll be plenty enough. And once I get to the center, I'm just going to simply turn the drum around and start working the other way. That's why I put, well, you have to put the bottom piece on first, but that's one advantage to it, is that the bottom piece allows you to leave the drum sitting without sticking on anything. And as you can see, this method here seems to be pretty clean. I'm not dripping stuff all over and not making a big mess. And when I get down at the bottom here, I'm going to work up like this, because I don't want to stick the other side down to the craft paper. The thing I like about this disposable container is you can just throw it away when you're done, whereas with a roller, you usually have to have a paint tray. And even if they're disposable, they're expensive, whereas this is basically reusing a food dish. So as long as it's clean, it seems to work okay. Just have this one little area to finish here. Then I'm going to turn it back around to the other side. I'm getting a little low on glue in this container, so I'll add some more. One quart of this glue is about good enough, almost for 2 sets. So I'm going to start here again. I'll go ahead and put some more glue down here on the seam area. And I'll work my way back up. And once I get that done, I'm going to put the drum over on a place on some wax paper so it won't stick. And I will cover the back with adhesive. The piece is going to go on here. I finished coating the shell with 2 coats of glue. And now I'm going to coat this piece that goes onto the shell. Again, just making sure, I've double checked everything. This is the side that's going to go towards the outside. You want to make sure you don't glue the wrong side. It's very easy to make mistakes. So I'm going to apply glue to all of this. In the past, I put painter's tape along here so that when I got glue over the side, I could just peel the tape off, and it made it easier in a way. Unfortunately, sometimes you end up folding it over on itself by mistake. And when you glue it like that, the glue is very, very difficult to get off. If you do make a mistake and it gets glued like this, pull it apart really carefully. You'll need 2 people to do it. Try not to stretch it or damage it. Pull it apart. And you can take an X-Acto knife and just very lightly cut around the messed up area. And you can take your fingers and roll all that glue off. Re-glue it. You have 4 hours to get it done. If you don't panic, no problem at all. You won't have to worry about throwing this piece away. Now, if you do make a mistake, you know, you would have to get a new piece. So I'm going to start gluing this. I'll just put plenty of glue on it. Since I'm on top of craft paper, I don't care too much if it goes over a little bit. So I'm going to glue this whole back piece and then let it dry for a minimum of 45 minutes. Make sure you get all the way to the edges that are going to go onto the drum. Otherwise, you may have an area that doesn't stick. Also, try not to get any big glue blobs. But if there's a little bit of glue that's like over here, for example, it's not really a problem. Because compared to the thickness of the material, it's not going to create a blemish on the shell. You can buy pre-glued drum wrap. I've never used it, so I don't know if it's any good or if it works. Seems like a good idea. I think that's what Ludwig did, was the pre-adhesive type wrap with a tape edge, and it didn't hold up at all. So my feelings are this is probably the best way. This is what's recommended by Precision Drum. And I think that they have the experience to show that this type of method is the right method. Okay, so I've just about got this finished being glued. And I'm ready to let it dry. Couple of spots up here, maybe. You don't really want to mess with it once it's starting to set up because it'll start stringing up on you. Do see a spot down here I may have missed. Okay, so we're going to let that dry for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it to the shell. Hopefully, very flush and very perfect.